Hello everyone. Can you hear me? Good. I will put up the slides on my Twitter account later, so check them out if you want. We are here because the topic is an API company 5 years later. So the question then is, where do you start? And the answer is from the beginning, right? So here is a fairly known site. Does anybody not know what Blocket is here in the room? A couple of people that are maybe not from Sweden. So it's a classified ad site. You put up an advertisement, you sell something there, and there are a lot of people who usually come and buy your stuff. So if you look at the bottom of this screen, there you have to enter your phone number there. And there's a button where you can hide your phone number. So Blocket had a problem. People were hiding the phone number because they didn't want to. They did care about their integrity online. And this was a problem for mainly because people sold less at that site when you hid your phone number. And secondly. There was an opportunity here if Blocket could solve this to actually have a upsell something here to earn a little bit of extra money. So welcome to the world of temporary phone numbers. What I did back then was implementing feature here. It says temporary phone number, so you pay a little bit of extra money, and instead of your real phone number showing up in the advertisement, it shows a temporary phone number. And that's good because it's retained privacy. People can't take your number and look it up on hitta.se or any Yellow Pages site. You get no nightly calls. And you do get phone calls and SMS without exposing your real identity to the world. And when your goods is sold, you get silence. So a nice feature. Privacy and a bit of extra features. So what I did back then in the previous job was build this feature for Blocket, and the reality for us was, yay! So we built this for Blocket. We spent all this time building this feature for them. Who else? Who else can we sell this for? Hello, anyone out there? Anyone? Any köp och sälj? There wasn't really anybody else we could sell this solution to. And telco stuff is really expensive. It's really expensive. And customizations are expensive too. Let's say we wanted to adopt this to some other industry. You could, for instance, maybe think about dating. There is an opportunity there to use temporary phone numbers to talk for half an hour before exposing a real identity, for instance, giving out your real phone number. But suddenly there are different call patterns. There is a different communication to the users. It's a totally different problem. It's a totally different solution. So the end result of this was it was very bad ROI. I will pause here and just ask one short question. Do you get the concept of temporary phone numbers in this case? Great. So wait a moment. Monolith, you heard about Monolith at the keynote speaks earlier. And there is this telco complexity, and there is this solution logic here. What if you separate them and you put an API in between? So you package all the telco complexity in one API and put it into the hands of the people who already own the problem, who are developers already at Blocket or already at Sprayit or whatever potential use of temporary phone numbers and SMS and phone calls and MMS that would be out there. So when we stumbled upon this, me and my former boss, Carl Holmqvist, of course we thought, let's build a company. And that's why we're all here today, to hear about the story. So this is why we started the company that has this, that first was called the Talkie Project, that later had a nice elk as a logo, and now has a even smoother elk as a logo. 2 seconds about me. I am a self-taught developer. So I learned programming together with my brother when I was a kid, 12, 13 years old. With that perspective, so I will present you now 7 learnings that we had. The first one was, building a company and an API company is hard. It's really hard, and it's hard with that background from one main perspective. It's 2 problems: building an API product and building an API company are 2 completely different challenges. So when you think about an API product, your API should work according to specs. That's the core of an API. Which means you prototype, you build something quick, simple, but still work according to specs. Maybe not the most scalable thing, but it still works. It delivers the promise that the API gives to your API consumers. And then you gradually improve. So we started in March, April 2011, and we launched our first alpha already in June, with the core feature that today, still in 2016, is what we are selling the most of. And golden rule of API design: when in doubt, leave it out. Wait until you have enough demand to actually put it into the API. Okay, so this is roughly the basics of building an API product. And there's a lot of technical stuff, yeah, but those are generally details. Second problem is the API company. You need an efficient team. You probably need customers. And to get customers, maybe you need sales, marketing, strategy. And from a technical perspective, once you start finally to get some customers, you need good billing, you need usage reports, and customers are asking all these things that are not really at the core of your API product, which requires time, which requires persistence, which usually requires money, you suiting up, and you going through the pain of why don't you as an investor get the value of our API product? It's really, really good. Why don't you get it? And you understand that there are no shortcuts when it comes to communication. You have to actually iterate and get yourself an understanding of the value in your API company, in your product, and manage to get that through in order to succeed. So this is a very, very different challenge. So that's the first learning. Building an API company is hard. Second learning, developers need time. What do I mean by that? Well, 10 months after launching our alpha, we had roughly 500 accounts created in the platform. We had a brand that managed to get to many different places. We had 1 customer. Sorry for the font problem, but we had 1 customer. And we had a total revenue of 100 kroner. So what do you do? What do you do at that point in time? You've built the product, you've spent 10 months pushing it, and when you start a company, 10 months, it feels like a very long time. If you think about history, 10 months is not a very long time. But at that moment, what you do is, of course, you pivot. There are generally 2 ways of pivoting. Either you change your product or you change your strategy. So the main question we had back then was, okay, a developer needs to integrate towards our API, but do we actually sell to developers? Or is there somebody else we actually sell to? So basically, we wasted the next 2 years not targeting developers, trying to find a specific niche industry that we could sort of really push forward through. But it's a bit hard to like sell a hammer only to a specific set of carpenters. What we should have done is kept focus. It's easy to say that now, but back then it made sense to actually think about if we should pivot and how and change our strategy. Which jumps us directly into the next learning. Metrics is important. And why? Well, in our case, this is bad metrics. And this is better metrics. The main difference, sorry for the font, 25 developers out of those 500 accounts. If you're pushing something to everyone and people are creating a free trial account and really not understanding what they sign up for, it's not really that much quality in those test accounts. So, and if you have a service that only works in Sweden in a alpha and you get users from all around the world, it doesn't really make any value to those other users, right? So that's number one learning regarding metrics. Second learning is that we stumbled upon later is it's regarding revenue. So classic revenue chart, money, time. Another month goes by, you have some more revenue, and the next month it goes down, and you're wondering what is this? And if you have investors, they start asking, what's going on? Is the business going down in the drain? And if you have a monthly big recurring cost and you have customers who've signed up and pay X thousand kroner or X hundred euro per month, then you can have fairly steady revenue. But if you, like many API platforms are, pay as you go, which means you pay for the usage you have, then naturally your customers, their platforms will use different amounts of traffic each month. So this is a classic summer dip for us. Plus, maybe there's a marketing campaign that went on for 2 weeks that spent 30,000 kroner that sort of just shifted the whole thing. So what we learned was a way to calculate recurring revenue that managed to get away with these spikes that were not really necessary for the core kind of customers that we wanted to have. And this is unique for every business, of course, but for us, the metric was that an account that spent €2 per week for 7 consecutive weeks was what we call a recurring customer. So by adding that filter, we actually maintained 95% of our revenue, but we got rid of the spikes. So then we could give a much better and clearer picture to ourselves and to our investors what's going on. And what's even better is that we get the count of recurring customers, not only the revenue. So our key metric is to count the recurring customers, and that just goes up and up and up. And once they pass this filter, we let them retain as a recurring customer if they consumed any kind of used anything in the platform last month. So they don't every week have to spend €2 because there are these natural variations in traffic and in usage. But by having this filter, we managed to learn how to look at our revenue streams. So this was crucial for us understanding our business. Fourth learning, get to know your co-founder. So we were 2 people in the beginning, me as a technical co-founder, we had another person running the business side. And who makes decisions? Who makes decisions? Do you have a CEO that makes all the decisions and a CTO that takes only the technical decisions? How do you want your company to work? If you start a company with somebody that you don't know from before, like I did, spend your time well before you spend the first 2 months not building the product, but actually getting to know each other, building some prototypes, talking about many different aspects, because the traditional quote when it comes to entrepreneurship is, running a company is like a marriage. And it's not the same, but it's close to the kind of discussions and frustration you can have. Figure out what the vision is, that you have a shared vision, figure out the core values. So what happened, for us was this, which jumps directly to the next learning. Trust your convictions. So January 2014, alone in the company, stepping up to take care of everything, and not just the technical sides. This was my starting point, 400,000 kronor in loans, but happy customers. I knew these customers, I don't want to, let them go. There has to be a way forward. We have to find a way. Somehow this API service has to find its home, whether, continue as its own company or as a part of another company. So what happened is that I spent 6 months doing something I'd never done before, which is raising funding, and managed to secure 2.6 million of investments, which meant we could keep going. We could keep delivering to our customers, and we could keep getting more customers, which led to the next challenge, recruiting. So hire your future leaders. 6th learning. I recruited, since January 2014, 7 people. Out of those, 4 people are still around the company. And I think there are 2 reasons why you work. I want to do this, or I accept the task. 5 of those 7 people were in the category, I want to do this, and 4 of those are still in the company. So 2 out of those 3 that are not still, they was more into the category of accept the task. And it's not a very good way to build your core team of the future and the future leaders of your company if you go in the 2nd category. The 5th person that still had this, I want to do this, he couldn't deliver what he wanted to deliver. So he had the right sort of ambition, but not the right quality for what he was going to achieve in the company. Don't lose your hope. Learning 7. And the easiest way to show this is show the reality in figures. And so how do you convey this in another way? I think just like if you built this API product, it suits your purpose, suits your use case. You manage to get users. You don't know in the beginning how many users it will get, but sort of trust that once you confirm the value, that you will find a way eventually to get more users to it. At least give it a couple of years. APIs is not something you build for a year and then you sell, then you drop the company. It's something which is much more persistent. So for us, 2011, 100 kronor. 2012, slightly above 5,000. Maybe it was even about 20,000. But we started to get something which couldn't pay our costs, but still something that some traction. Yeah, and 2013, we actually this is 1 million per quarter. This is 4 quarters. So we managed to get some traction. So we ended 2013 with closer to 200,000, I think, 150 maybe. 2014, even better. 2015. Start continuing to grow in steady growth, and this is where we are today. I'm not saying every API you build out there will have the same kind of stable growth, and the number of customers goes along the same kind of growth as the revenue, by the way. But give it a fair shot. Don't lose your hope. Follow me on Twitter if you want to get the presentation later, and we'll have questions at the end.